Meaning to do this video for a while. I've got a number of Panasonic Lumix cameras, the later models, and I just thought I'd show people how I set them up just in normal mode and two different custom modes. So maybe if you're new to the Panasonic cameras, you might get something out of this. You might understand a bit more how the menus work and how to set things up like I have. Might be beneficial to you. So without further ado, I'll go ahead. So this is the TZ90 with the flip up screen. I also have a G85, which is my regular camera, and I've also got the TZ110 and FZ1000 and a G7. So yeah, I do like the cameras. I've been updating them. It's time to get rid of a couple of them because I believe a new one's coming out November 17. So I just thought I'd show people how, probably making a video that I wish I had seen a year or two ago. It might have just sped up my learning curve. So first of all, we'll turn it on without hitting the video button. We'll hit the on button. Now all the Lumix cameras have a quick menu button. Now they're in different spots, but that allows you to set up the main parameters of your camera. So you've got all different modes that run across the top there and the bottom. As you scroll through, you just left and right, or scroll your dial if your camera has a dial. Now I usually leave mine in single shot and single focus point and single at one area, so I can keep in control of it, in either high burst or just standard. And I will have it in, let's see, aperture mode and ISO on auto. Also I have white balance on auto. So this would be auto multi-metering, standard metering. So this would be RAW plus JPEG. Right. So this is my standard basic setup, and that's how I would leave it turned off and put in my bag. And yeah, I like to be in control of what the camera focuses on. In full auto, it uses 49 different points around the screen. It doesn't know what you're trying to focus on. So one thing you can do while you're recording, you can tap on the screen. If you scroll the dial, that's your focus point. You can make it smaller or bigger. And if you sort of accidentally bump it or move it in the wrong spot, on all the cameras, you just hit the display button and it zeroes back to the center. That goes back to its default. So yeah, if you bump it or whatever, you just hit the display button, and then they all do that. So yeah, depending on what you're shooting, if you can be really accurate on where you want to focus, then you can make it tiny. Or if something might possibly be moving, or just you're not too sure, so you got to remember that that's the only area that it's going to focus in. So while you're aiming the camera, you don't look around the outside of that square. You've got to concentrate on what's in that square to get your focusing right. Okay, and just the usual half press locks on, and then full press to take the shot. Right, that's my straightforward basic setup. Okay, so for my first custom mode, what you have to do is change the settings to suit your situation, what you want, and then you go into custom mode and save it. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, I'll hit the 4K button, which is in different spots on different Lumix cameras, but you pretty much come up with this menu. This is what I like to do for insects and getting close macro photos. So I'll go across to burst shutter to shutter. So you'll hit the shutter, it's recording the whole time that you're trying to get a shot, and then as soon as you've finished, you hit the shutter again. So it's just a bit like a video camera. You just hit the button, do your recording, and then hit the button to turn it off. So that's the first one that I set up. Then I hit this button here, and I put it into manual focus mode. Bang, like that. Hit OK. And then I scroll the front dial all the way across to the flower. So with manual focusing, you'll see that the camera has what's called focus peaking. So you can get, with this particular camera, you can get really close to the lens. See, I'm not very far away at all. Really close to that lens, and the peaking shows you where the focus point is. So I could take a shot there. I'm about 1 centimeter away from the front of the lens. So I know when I take this camera out that anything I can get within 1 centimeter of this lens is going to be in focus. So what I like to do, I'll put it in shutter priority, and I like to get the shutter speed. Where are we? Where's the shutter speed? Okay, got to half press the... Right, now we can change the shutter speed. I like to have the shutter speed at 1,000th of a second. So 4K photo mode is just pretty much a video, but you can change your shutter speed. You get your best results outside in bright sunlight, and anything else other than outside and under 1,000th of a second, you really start losing quality, I've found. These are respectable. So outside, 1,000th of a second, manual focus, so I know how far it is, and you got your shutter set up, start and stop. And I like to put ISO. Let's go to the quick menu. Let's find ISO down the bottom. No, that's exposure comp. I like to put ISO on its lowest setting. So, bright sunny day, we've got a bee flying around outside on the flower. This camera is now set up to video that bee. What I would do, I would hit the shutter button, and I just move the camera in close to the bee, and then I move it away. Close and away, and I just keep doing that. Even if it's in flight, you can get some pretty good shots out of that. When you go back through the footage and have a look at what you've got, you can get some pretty good shots with the lowest amount of ISO for an 8 meg 4K still, and it's quite impressive. So I like to leave my camera set up on this in case I come across a spider or a fly or a ladybird or something like that. So I want to keep this in my custom menu. So let me go into the settings, hit the menu button, and let's see, where are we? If you want to scroll through these pages, you can just hit this display button and see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You don't have to go down, down, down. You don't have to go like that. You can just flick through the pages just by hitting the menu button, the display button. Okay, let's find... Well, I have to go across to the side there and go to custom menu. Okay. There's the custom menu. Custom menu set. Look what we've got at the top there. Custom menu. Okay, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to hit OK on custom menu 1, and it's asking me, do I want to overwrite the settings that are already pre-programmed into custom 1? So I'll say yes. Completed. And now my camera is set up, custom set menu 1, for whenever I see bees or bugs or butterflies or whatever it is. Now the camera, now if I go back to aperture or shutter priority, the camera's stuck at what I've just set into it, so I've got to put it all back to where it was. So let's go back to, where are we? Auto ISO. Yep. Yep. 1000 multimetering. Yep. Right, so what I want to do, I want to go back to, I push this side button here, I want to go back to autofocus, that's where I was. If I push on the 4K button again, I can turn the 4K photo off. We're on manual focus. Okay, let's half press the shutter. Let's go side button. Let's go back to autofocus. All right, so let's scroll through here and make sure I've got everything back how I wanted it. Single area. The autofocus uses the video autofocus if you go into 4K. That's why I switched it to manual, because the video focus is quite slow on all these Lumix cameras. If you're trying to capture fast moving objects, it's just hopeless. So, okay, I'm capturing RAW and JPEG. Yep. Standard. Auto white balance, auto ISO. And I'm on shutter speed, which I can change. Change the shutter speed. Right. Everything's back to normal. Right, so now, all of a sudden, I see a bee flying off a flower. It's bright sunlight. I'll just flick this dial around to see. It's my custom menu. And look at that, it's all set up. 4K is turned on. Manual focus is turned on. Peaking's turned on. Shutter speed's at 1/1000th. Everything's ready to go. So that's extremely handy. So I can just be walking around taking photos, and all of a sudden I'll see a bee flying off a plant or a butterfly or a ladybug, and I'll just quickly flick it round to see, and away I go. Super quick. Okay, so that's one way that I set that up. I'll show you my second custom mode in a minute. Right, my second custom mode. I shoot my boys playing Australian rules football. So the way I set it up for that, I put it in shutter priority again, and I will leave it on about 1/500th. As the boys get older and bigger and faster, that can go up. And I will go to the quick menu again. ISO stays on auto, white balance is auto, just the standard setting there. Here I don't shoot raw. I'll usually just go for, let's pick one. I usually just go for just a standard JPEG. Well, the reason I take these photos, I post them online and let other parents see the shots. So there's that, and oops, I've gone, let's go standard. So that's just a standard JPEG. Okay. Autofocus, I autofocus on constant autofocus. That's where you set it on this one. And I also use a single point. Okay, and high speed shutter. So yeah, that's pretty straightforward. That's how I shoot sports. Now the focus point. What I do, I don't actually have it in the center. What I do, I'll just reset it. I like to drop it down about there. So when I'm following the play, I will keep the play in the center. And see what often happens during a game. It'll capture a player, but as soon as they run past, it tries to focus on the fence in the background. And it does focus on the fence in the background, and then all of a sudden another player will get in the way, and then so you end up with shots of the fence in the background. In between, you end up junking a lot of your shots. So I found if you just put the focus point just down a little bit off center, it tends to focus on their legs or the grass that they've just been standing on. So you still get your shots in focus. So if the player's just to the left of the shot with the ball or taking a kick or whatever, and it's a good shot, you've still got it in focus, even though the focus point hasn't strayed to the back, because it's actually focused on the grass about where they were standing. So you still follow the play as though you try and keep the ball and the players in the center. But I've found that works, and you find if you don't get enough shots, just make your focus point just that little bit bigger. Just try and work out what works best for you. So that's how I set mine up. So yeah, everything's set up now for my sports shooting. So what I would do now, I'll go into the menu again. Let's see, menu. We go to custom set. This time I'll go to C2. And it's going to ask me, do I want to overwrite the settings for C2? Yep, completed. Right. Now when I go back to my normal shooting, it's all still set up for the sports mode. So I'll just place it back where I normally keep it. Just have my display reset the focus point. I will... let's see, that stays at one area. My focus is on there. I normally have raw.
It's Balin. Sorry.
What have we got? Back to photo, yeah, everything auto ISO. 100th. I actually have it in aperture mode, and I keep it as wide as I can. Oh, my focus point's moved again. There we go. Right. Everything is back to how I normally shoot. This is how I would turn it off and put the camera away. So now, if I want to shoot the little bee that's coming past, I go to custom mode. And currently we are set up for the sports mode. The display, if you hit the display button there, you get, if you scroll through the display modes, you just keep pushing that button, it scrolls through about 4 different modes. When I get to the, you can see there it says C2 shutter. So that's in custom mode 2 is shutter speed. If I tap on that, I can change back to custom mode 1 for my butterfly. So, or my bee shot. So that's just a different quick way. C2, back ready for sports again. Okay. C1 ready for the bee. And I head back to aperture mode, and that's my normal shooting. So now I've got the camera set up 3 different ways. There's also a third custom setting if you want to use it. My camera's set up 3 different ways for how I like to use it, or how I usually use it. That's as it is. Aperture priority single point. Then I've also got my custom mode setting. Custom mode setting for my bees. And I've got my custom mode setting for sports. So hopefully that's helped someone understand how the custom modes work. You just have to remember after you've set your custom modes up, set your camera back up how you like to normally keep it, and leave your custom modes ready to access straight away. So it's pretty much like picking up 3 different cameras just quickly by turning a dial and pushing a button. So hopefully that's helped someone. I know it's been a bit long-winded, and I haven't obviously I haven't scripted this. I've just done it off the top of my head. Hopefully you've been able to follow it, and hopefully it can help somebody. I wish I'd seen something like this about a year or 2 ago. I would have my learning curve would have accelerated much quicker. So yeah, hopefully this helps someone. Thank you. Bye. Just a quick note on this is the G85. On this style of camera, if you want to change from a single point focus to continuous focus, where it focuses on in and out as the subject moves, there's just a quick button on the dial here. You just straight to AFC. You go from AF single to AFC. Very simple, and manual focus even quicker. It's just instead of scrolling through the menus like on the TZ90, this one you just flick it. You can do it on the run. It's much simpler. And also, if you want to go from single shot to a burst of shots and to your 4K modes, it's just as simple as click. Just one little click. You don't have to go into the menus like the TZ90 and the TZ110. So the G7, G85 and the FZ 1000 and 2000 or 2500, they're set up like this as well. But you have to remember when you go back to leaving your camera in its normal mode, how you like to just leave it for when you pull it out of the bag. You just have to remember to flick it back, that's all. And the display button's in a different spot, and the quick menu button's in a different spot, but the actual menu itself still looks exactly the same. Yeah, so the menu is just basically the same. Yeah, see? Okay. Hopefully that helps someone. Okay, so if you've taken a 4K photo, the way I had the camera set up in my custom menu, this is what you hit the play button. So if you want to view your 4K photo, your 4K footage that you took, you just hit the up button, that up button there. So let's hit the up button and let's see what I got. So it loads up. So what this does, you can see this is showing me about 1/4 of the footage or 1/5 of the footage, and you have to scroll through. You have to wait for it to load. Oh, it skipped through to the second fifth. So if you want to scroll through, you hit the side button. You can see up the top there, it scrolls backwards and forwards, or you can just scroll the dial. But I've found that's a very slow way of viewing back the footage you've taken. And I've seen some YouTube videos, people have got a little bit frustrated with the poor user interface. But there is a bit of a secret. If you hit this function 2 button, okay, you can either tap the screen or you can hit function 2 here. Right? It changes. Now all your sidewards and up and down buttons are different. If you hit the up button now, it will play the entire footage. So you can actually see what you've got. Or you go back, you can just hit the bottom button and it just quickly skips back through the whole video footage for you. So I'll go to the next photo because there's something, right, here we go. 4K photo play. So now I've changed it into this F2 button. Every time I go through the photos, it shows it in this format, which I find is fantastic. So I'll hit the up button and I can watch what I've taken. Okay, now we get nice and close to this bee here. Right, now somewhere there, I will pause it, right? So I've hit the top button again and I've paused it. Now you can see what's happened. It's shown up the focus peaking where the shot is actually in focus. And look, that shot there is right on that bee's eye. So that is actually going to be a pretty good photo. So I can just scroll back frame by frame or forward frame by frame until I get the composition that I like. I can actually, if I go back, I can get his foot actually in the shot. Or close enough to. Now when you're going back, it skips a little bit slow for some reason. I don't know why. But when you're going forward, it's fantastic. It just sort of skip. And you can just wait. You can just scroll through. It's much better. Ah, look, there's his foot's in the shot now. I'll be able to crop that shot. So to save the shot, I'll hit the menu button. Save this image, yes. And I can keep going. Just scroll through. So if you use the play button, you don't get to see the focus peaking. But if you just hold this side button here on the side, you'll see. See, I'll just move in and out with the camera until bang, somewhere there. Aha. Perfect. So I can save the photo. So you can just, initially, you can just watch the footage you got and then go back and you get an idea of where the good shots are. See, it doesn't show the peaking when you play it at normal speed. Okay, and then he's flown away at the end there. So yeah, it'll play back to the start. It just jumps when you go in reverse. And if you tap it to play and then tap it again to pause, you can sort of skip through quite quickly. And then you can either scroll or just... I found that's the best way to find your shots. And then find a good shot, save this image, yes, done. You just keep going. Scroll through. So yeah, that function 2 button, that's been a bit of a godsend. I don't think I would have used the 4K photo mode very much if I hadn't have found that. So yeah, hopefully that'll help someone.